Well, hey, what's going on, everyone? Thanks so much for tuning in. We are back with another episode of the Common Good podcast, where we highlight just everyday, regular, ordinary people of faith who are finding ways to utilize their passions, their skills, their gifts, their resources, and their influence for the common good. And again, the hope is that as we share these stories, you're going to be inspired, you're going to be encouraged, you'll be challenged to think about maybe the ways that God might be inviting you to personally be about the common good, and certainly in the spaces and the places that you get to influence on a day-to-day basis. And so today, I just want to jump right in, super thrilled, super excited to have on the show my good friend and also the CEO and founder of Beyond Disabilities, my man, Steve Ferreira. Steve, welcome to the show, man. So glad. I know we've been talking about doing this for a while now. And then the pandemic, everything kind of shut down, but I'm just so excited that we get to do this and you're making time. I know you're a busy guy.
Thank you for having me. I just want to spread positive encouragement in these hard times for people that need some positive uplifting.
I love it. Yep. That's so good. So good. Well, and congrats also. I hear it's the 10-year anniversary of Beyond Disabilities. That's awesome, man. 10 years doing what you're doing. Super cool. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Hey, Steve, I was wondering, maybe we can just start kind of the conversation, and for our listeners, maybe just give a brief kind of overview of your organization, Beyond Disabilities. What exactly does your organization do? I know we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about it, but maybe just at a high level, what does your organization do? Who do you help serve? And kind of what do you do? What's your primary role as the CEO and founder of Beyond Disabilities?
So Beyond Disabilities was founded in 2011. Our mission is to inform individuals and communities around the world that if you're disabled, you're just like everyone else, just living life in a different way. Beyond Disabilities speaks throughout the state and throughout the nation. We try to talk to K through 12 colleges, churches, organizations, and corporate organizations to try to get the people to understand why the meaning of inclusion in the workplace or anywhere is so important to implement in an everyday basis.
That's good. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Hey, what inspired you to start Beyond Disabilities and really to become an advocate for people with disabilities? Maybe you could even just share a little bit of just your own story and your own journey of kind of how you got to this place.
So when I was a freshman in high school, I attended a program called Challenge Day. Challenge Day's mission is that every child should live in a world where they feel loved, safe, and celebrated. In this program that is based out in San Francisco or somewhere in California, gave me the inspiration to start my own program. But when I was a young kid trying to book speaking, I had to physically go to the high schools and to prove to the client I had a disability, because who is going to take a teenager's email seriously at that age? So that's where I started, and I progressed to colleges, and yeah.
That's awesome. And you literally are speaking all over the country and the world, right? Like you've done international stuff too, which is incredible, right?
I spoke in Taiwan in 2012, and that was a country that I was adopted from.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Man, that's so awesome. And here we are 10 years later. 10 years later, and you're still doing your thing and growing the organization. That's so cool. Hey, Steve, I know we were talking about this a little bit offline, and maybe just share a little bit of what are some of the challenges and struggles that you have faced, both as someone, with disabilities, but certainly someone that's an advocate for others and who's really trying to lead this program.
So the main struggle that I face in the world right now, even with social media, I get bullied everywhere I go because people just tend to judge you on appearance before they get to know the real you.
Right.
But those people that judge me and all those doubters give me more motivation to prove others wrong, that I can do anything what I put my mind to. For the doubters, just keep me pushing to reach new limits that I can reach, because those people who doubt me give me like a fire inside my body and gives me more drive to just go after my goals and prove to everyone or someone that I can do it. It doesn't matter how long it takes me.
Yeah.
It just matters the pace that I'm comfortable about accomplishing it. And
that's so good. When you were sharing that, Steve, I think about things like perseverance, and endurance and not giving up. And, I know you're big into athletics as well. And I see that like even on your Instagram, right? Where, I always joke with you, right? Like every time we get to see each other in person, we're always like comparing biceps and, you're always, you're always making me look like I'm a scrawny little, dude. But I know like what I love about that is like, you're always in the gym working out and, athletics has been a big part of your life. In fact, not only do you work out on a regular basis, but you've competed at some of the highest levels. You're a Paralympic athlete who you represented Team USA, and you won a gold medal in the discus and a bronze medal in the shot put. I mean, like some incredible stuff. Talk a little bit about like, you talk about this drive and this passion to just like prove your doubters wrong, and talk about like why athletics are so important to you and how that's been a big part of your life.
So, athletics have been a big part of my life since I was like 5 years old.
Mm,
But basically, when I was doing physical therapy, my therapist got me started lifting weights with ankle weights on a just regular dowel bar. Then eventually my therapy turned into weight training.
gotcha.
And then what's special is when in high school when they have a senior night and they give all the awards, the athletic director gave me the award for athletics because
Awesome.
he said I had no excuse. I always wanted to go to the gym and work out, and working out helps my cerebral palsy get stronger.
Mm,
But working out doesn't just help help everyone physically. It helps you mentally too,
it's good.
because then your thoughts are in your head. You know what you're capable of. No one can get those thoughts away from you. Not unless if you make that happen.
Yeah, that's so good. I love that, Steve. I remember you posted this quote, or it wasn't a quote. This is what you said, but in my mind, it's like, dude, that's like that. What you shared was so powerful. You said something to the effect of, and I might butcher it, but um, when someone had commented about your wheelchair when you're in a gym working out, you're like, a wheelchair is simply how you get around, but it doesn't define you. And
Yeah.
I love that, like what you shared. Maybe talk a little about that. Like what exactly does that mean? This idea that a wheelchair is how you get around, but it doesn't define who you are.
So the meaning of that is because yes, I'm not capable of walking long distances, but as some of you might see, I post workout videos and my legs are extremely strong. That doesn't mean my body's paralyzed.
Right.
It just means I just can't walk by myself. I can walk with help, but yeah.
Yeah. That's so good. Thanks for sharing that. Hey, Steve, I want to talk a little bit about faith. I know faith has been a part of your life. In fact, that's where we first met, right? We met in church. And
Yeah.
yeah, maybe talk about a little bit about just your Christian faith. How does your Christian faith inform who you are and kind of the work that you do with Beyond Disabilities?
And so I was adopted an organization called Christian Salvation Services. My parents brought me to the United States at a young age, and to be all honest, when I give my presentations, I do not bring up faith because I do not want people to have mixed messages.
Mm,
Then it would start an argument. Then it will get out of hand. If people want to ask me one-on-one, that's awesome because it's a personal conversation. But giving my perspective in a big group, I think that's very unprofessional because it would create conflict, and some people might be questioning my faith. If that makes sense to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, what would you say? I know you've been part of churches, you speak at churches. This is the Common Good podcast. We're a part of Common Good Church, and I'm a pastor. I'm curious to know, what would you have to say to the church? How has the church been helpful? But we talked a little about this before we even started the show. That in a lot of ways, the church sometimes can be hurtful as well. What would you say to the church? What can the church do better? What can the church do differently? Certainly to be more welcoming and inclusive of those with disabilities. And you could keep it 100% real, no sugarcoating.
Okay.
You know how we do it. You just tell me how like it is.
So from my perspective, church have been really supportive, but one year I wanted to attend that mission or trip to California to help the people with disabilities. You remember that trip?
I think I might have. Yeah.
It was like Mount Hermon or something.
Yeah.
And then the church was all for it. They wanted me to go. But on the receiving end, the person planning it was like, okay, but does someone have to push his wheelchair? How will he be independent? I felt disappointed and demoralized because it was a retreat helping other people with disabilities.
Yeah.
So I believe if you don't have a passion for understanding every disability, you should not be in that field because counting out someone that has a passion of furthering educating people with disabilities and excluding them says something about how you represent yourself.
Yeah. Wow. Man, I'm sorry to hear that you had to go through that. What would you say to churches in terms of how we could be more inclusive? I know that's a lot of the work that you do, right? What do you think needs to happen? What are some of the important things that especially people in the church need to be thinking about?
You just need to treat them like anyone else. Everyone has their own differences that they're dealing with. Some may be visible, some be invisible. Who cares? We're all humans at the end of the day.
Yep.
We all want to better each other somehow. And through my speaking, I believe if I make an impact on one person, that's all that matters from me,
So
because
good.
then it grows from there. And my message it gets heard more from different locations.
Yeah. Love that, man. I love it. Hey, Steve, you talked about, you were sharing with me before we started the recording
Yeah.
about that time where some neighbors, some religious neighbors came over and they asked they asked or they wanted to pray for you or for your disability. You talk about that a little bit. I think it's so important for the church to kind of hear kind of this perspective. What happened and kind of how did that make you feel? And what would you say to religious people that think that that's, I don't know, part of their role?
And so it's interesting because anywhere I go, I get one person that wants to pray for me because of my disability. Do not feel sorry for me. I am living my life to the fullest.
Yeah.
I personally do not think I have a disability. It does not make me weak. I am strong. I am brave. I will tell you like it is. But if you, sorry, but if you want my honest opinion before you talk to someone, think to yourself, do I have any differences that's holding me back from reaching out from different perspectives? Blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
Disability can be mental, invisible,
Yeah.
or just writing or seeing or whatever. Be comfortable with who you are.
Yeah.
You are on this earth for a reason,
Come on.
to make a difference for all people that surround you in life.
Yeah.
Do not hate on people when you don't know them.
Yeah. That's so good. I love that, Steve. I love that. And just that perspective, right? I think so often when we encounter people that are different than us, there's so much of this like tendency to think that difference is a gift. Difference is beautiful, right? And like every
Yeah.
single person has something to offer and we need each other, right? Like you teach me so much and we teach each other, you know what I mean? And it's like, I think what you're saying is that's the posture that we need to approach everyone with,
Yeah.
even those with disabilities, right? To say, no, we all have a gift and we all have something to share. And we need to see the gift that we are to each other and to treat each other that way and to respect each other that way and to recognize our need for each other. So, man, I love that, Steve. Hey, maybe one last thing or two last things. What are some final words to our listeners? I know you travel everywhere advocating. What would you say? I guess maybe for those who are listening who have disabilities, what's your message to those who have disabilities? What do you want them to know? What do you want them to do? And then kind of the second question would be, what's your primary message to those who don't identify as someone with disabilities? What do you want them to know? And what do you want them to do?
So I'll wrap that question up into one sentence, and it's I'm going to reiterate this, but I believe that everyone in this world has their own unique differences, but people need to accept that difference and just accomplish goals at their own pace.
Yeah, that's so good. I love that. I love that.
Thank you.
That at your own pace thing, I think is such a powerful message, right? Like we've all got our own pace. God has
Yeah.
done us uniquely. And sometimes I think we want to get in somebody else's lane. But it's like, no, just stay in the lane that you've been given, that God has gifted us with, and to go at your own pace and to be faithful to that, man. I think that's such a powerful message. Thanks for sharing that, Steve. Hey, last thing I want you to maybe share briefly. How can people support you? Our listeners that are listening to you and they're like, how do we get behind Steve? How do we get behind Beyond Disabilities? What are ways that we can support your work, your organization?
So people can support me by spreading the word about my company. They can donate or even purchase apparel from today's the 24th, but till the 28th of November, and I am offering 10% off my apparel in celebration of my tenure because I want to give back to all my followers that have supported me over my business journey and just celebrate differences together.
That's awesome. Yep, I love it. And people can go to your website, beyonddisabilities.org, if they want to get in contact.
Beyond dash
With the
disability.
dash. Okay.
Sorry.
Beyond-disabilities.org. And then email steve@beyond-disabilities.org. Hey, what's your IG handle for those that want to follow you on IG? And you said you're going to start a TikTok account too. Did you already say that?
Yes, I did.
You tell our listeners where they can find you on social media.
My social media on Instagram is no excuses, Steve.
Yeah.
And my TikTok is no excuses, Steve. Because I just believe that people should not have an excuse unless it's an emergency.
Yeah. Awesome. Steve, I so appreciate you, man. And I'm so glad that we got to have this conversation. Man, anytime I'm around you, I get inspired, and you always push me to be better, to do better. And I know, I needed even just to hear that word, no excuses, right? Because I think it's so easy, especially with everything that's going on these days. It's so easy to make excuses, but I love it because you keep pushing, you keep driving, and you keep pursuing the things that God has put in front of you, and to continue to use your influence to help and serve other people, which I think is such a powerful thing. So I'm inspired, and I'm being challenged even right now just to continue to lean into the things that God's kind of, put in front of me. So thank you so much for sharing your time. I know you've got a crazy schedule right now, so I'm absolutely honored that you would just take some time out of your busy schedule to have this conversation. And I'm believing that the people that are listening, they're going to be encouraged and inspired too. So, hey, for everybody that tuned in, I hope you just enjoyed hearing from Steve. Again, go follow him on social media, reach out, find ways to support him. But I hope you're encouraged. I hope you were blessed. I hope you're inspired to find as Steve said, what are your unique gifts? What are your unique differences? And how might God be inviting you to use that for not just for yourself, but for the common good? And so, hey, if you enjoyed this conversation, make sure you subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the channel, follow, share, rate, comment, like it. And until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. Make sure you are taking care of yourself. God bless. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.